going on, guys? Stevie here with Lucky Crit, and today we have a huge assortment of Pokemon Go news to sort through, so let's get right into it. Firstly, I want to say that last night, some players started noticing increased Pokemon spawns and double items from Pokéstops, and it was finally revealed by Niantic that this week, November 7th to November 11th, is going to be sort of a special week to commemorate the kicking off of the daily quests for Pokemon Go. So because of that, we now have double spawns. In fact, if you go to Pokéstops, in my area at least, it seems like about 3 Pokemon per Pokéstop spawn, even in areas that have never had spawn points before, which is really awesome. It's kind of like a wild Pokemon Bonanza going on right now. And you'll also get, on average, about 6 items from each Pokéstop that you spin, which is pretty amazing. Now, I also think this might be sort of a gift to players because of another change they made recently, which is actually pretty bad overall, I think, for the game. But we'll get into that. So aside from that, Niantic has also confirmed that they are now rolling out the San Francisco tracker to a couple more places like Arizona and the rest of San Francisco Bay Area and California. So basically, a lot of West Coast locations, nothing anywhere else just yet. But it seems that they will be moving ahead with this tracker. I guess they want to have more people experience it first. Personally, I'm not a fan of this tracker. I don't think that it's very Pokemon-like to go to museums and downtown and city streets to Pokestops to catch Pokemon, and knowing exactly what's there before you even get there I think is kind of lame. I would rather search around, maybe have to go through a trail in the woods to find something, like actually going out into the wilderness as if Pokemon were really in the real world. I don't think they would all be on a downtown street, but that's just me. Anyway, so that is now being rolled out to more people. I guess we can expect to get it soon. Aside from that, let's talk about the version 0.45 update to Pokemon Go. For iOS, it's 1.15, and there's a lot of big changes here that we've been waiting for a while. It's not trading yet, but we have some stuff here. So daily quests have finally made their way into the game. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago. You can check out that video up here. When they actually added the code to the APK file, people were able to data mine it and find it, so we knew it was coming. So obviously, for your first catch of the day, as well as your first Pokestop spin of the day, you will receive bonuses, and if you keep it up for 7 days straight, you will receive a larger bonus. So let's definitely check it out and see what we can get from this. I do believe incubators might be a possibility, but we'll have to find out 7 days from now. Also, when you defeat the gym leader at a rival gym, there will be a brief period of time where only you will be able to place a Pokemon in the open gym. So gym sniping has finally been dealt with. Now, I'm not quite sure yet how this is going to work if you're fighting a gym with a friend. Hopefully they thought of that, and hopefully, maybe it's the person who's dealt the more prestige damage to the gym over that period of time or that battle or whatever the case may be. I just hope that they thought about that so it is still working when it comes time to place a Pokemon in the gym. But I suppose if you are fighting a gym with a friend and you take it down to 0, there should be 2 slots at least for you to be able to place the Pokemon in. So I guess we'll just have to see how that works. There's also been a significant prestige change to gyms with this update. If you haven't gone outside lately and looked around, all the gyms are level 10, they're stagnant, nobody is battling them. Basically, it takes too much time and effort to bring it down, and then probably when you drive away anyway, some of those people will be back to steal it from you and just build it back up to level 10 once again. With the latest changes that they made, not quite the best choices to be made for the game. However, with this, the amount of prestige a rival gym loses when you defeat a regular gym member has increased. The amount of prestige gained by training at a friendly gym has been lowered. So before, when you battled a gym, for each opponent's Pokemon that you knocked out, you received about 500 points taken off of the gym, minus 500 prestige. Now, you're going to get 1,000 for each Pokemon. So it's going to be twice as easy to tear down gyms, as well as twice as hard to train them back up. So before, if you went into a gym with a team of Pokemon that were less than half of that first gym Pokemon's CP, you would gain the maximum amount of prestige from battling it, in which case before it was 1,000. Now that has been lowered to 500, so it's going to take significantly more times of training the gym to be able to bring it up, which I think is a nice change. It seems a little drastic at first, but if you take a look outside, all the gyms are level 10, it's stagnant, it's not working. So this is definitely the right direction to go in, as far as I'm concerned. And there's also minor text fixes here. We have a couple other changes that people have been reporting on. There's some new spawn points for this particular event this week, and in case you haven't noticed lately, spawn points in general have been changed. So before, ever since launch, the way that it worked, while there were a couple different spawn point types, some of them had the potential of spawning the same Pokemon again after a period of time. It's kind of like a recurring spawn. Most spawns had a 15-minute timer, and that's when the Pokemon would disappear. Now, we're looking at 30-minute timers for each spawn point. So you have a lot more time to track down and find Pokemon and catch them, which I think is pretty awesome. Also, something to keep in mind, before, Pokemon would vanish from the sightings. Basically, nearby, you wouldn't see them in the chart anymore once their timer went below 1 minute and 30 seconds. Which means that once they disappeared from the nearby, you were still able to track them down and catch them, but they had less than a minute and 30 seconds left. So if you're searching for something and it disappears, and you know that it's gone for good because it hasn't been popping back up even if you go back and retrace your steps, that meant originally that it had less than a minute and 30 seconds left, but it was still able to be found and caught. Now with the recent changes, I was able to confirm it myself. It looks like that window of time is about 3 minutes. So if the Pokemon disappears from your nearby, you have 3 minutes to still be able to find it and catch it, which I think is awesome. We've also got an update here that the gym error lockout has been reduced from 10 minutes to 3 minutes. So a Reddit user named v0.45 has reported that the previous gym error lockout, which happens sometimes when you're trying to chain a gym, sometimes you get kicked out, and then you were unable to actually re-enter the gym and continue doing what you were doing because you just kept getting an error message. Essentially, that used to last 10 minutes. Now that's been reduced to 3 minutes, which I think is much better. So if you're having errors, just wait a couple minutes and you should be able to get back in and do what you need to do. Much better. So now it's time to talk about the bad news with this update. Previously, Niantic made it so that if you are traveling over 30 miles per hour, you can no longer see any Pokemon in your nearby or sightings list. Essentially, that was a big deal. A lot of players were upset about that, myself included. If you want to see my take on that issue, you can check out the video up here. Now they've essentially gone the extra mile and made it so that you cannot spin Pokéstops over 25 or 30 miles per hour either. Basically, Niantic is saying, we don't want you playing in the car, passenger or not. So some people on Reddit were talking about this and managed to figure out that essentially Niantic is still liable for lawsuits, even though we have pop-ups in the game that say don't play Pokemon Go while driving and things of that nature. Essentially, because the game has you traveling from one place to another, they can still basically be sued if there are traffic incidents related to Pokemon Go or deaths or anything like that. So this is basically them covering themselves even more, and because of legal matters, I don't think this change is going to be reverted. I guess from this point on, we're just going to have to accept that this way of playing Pokemon Go is how they want, and legally speaking, it's what they have to do in order to keep the game going. Which stinks, because, at the very least before, you were still able to collect items from Pokéstops, at least on the way to a destination, or, if you're going on a trip somewhere or with a family member or you're not driving, it was still fine, in my eyes, to be able to play in the car. But it seems like that's no longer going to be the case, especially even just for collecting items and filling up your bag. So it's really unfortunate, but I think it's just something that we're going to have to accept from this point on. This update also essentially makes Pokemon Go Pluses useless. Now, I talked about that in that previous episode, where we talked about the sightings changes and how it made the Pokemon Go Pluses worse, but I did end up finding afterwards that I think you could still see and catch Pokemon with the Go Plus, even over 30 miles an hour. However, with this change, that really affects the Pokemon Go Plus, because if you're on a bus or public transportation or anything, and you're trying to press that Pokemon Go Plus to hit some of those Pokéstops, you're not getting items anymore if you're over 30 miles an hour. And that basically makes the Go Plus more useless and even less of its value than it was already, which is really unfortunate because even still, I wouldn't mind having one. But at this point, what is the point of using it? There isn't much of a point anymore. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode, guys. Please let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about the Pokestop change or about this latest update to the game. If you liked this episode, be sure to slash that thumbs up down below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.